Hello, Player 3 here. Today we're winding the clock back to 1992, to a game whose title matched my emotions I felt while playing it. That's right, it's Agony. Published by Psygnosis and developed by Art & Magic. Art & Magic was founded in 1992 by game developer-designer Franck Sueur and programmer Yves Grolet. Unlike a good many of these niche retro games I've played, Franck has left us with an extensive look back at the history and development of Agony and all of the others he has contributed to. Most of my research comes from his website. I'm not reading it verbatim, nor will I mention everything it has to offer, but it's quite fascinating, so if you would like to take a look for yourself, I'll leave a link to it in the description. So the beginning of Art & Magic, or Logic as it was known before its official founding. Yves and Franck's first game under the name Art & Magic was a game called Unreal. Upon its completion, they began a new project for the Commodore Amiga, codenamed Twilight. This was initially planned to be a sequel to Unreal in its early development. In 1991, at the European Computer Trade Show in London, Yves and Franck showed off a prototype of Agony to producer Steve Riding from Psygnosis. This is when the working title Twilight was changed to Agony as we know it. The reason for such a name mainly being that a name starting with an A would be at the top of retailers' lists since they were categorized alphabetically. And Psygnosis was just the company they were looking for, at the time doing very well for themselves, with games such as Ballistics, Barbarian, and their most successful game to that point, Shadow of the Beast. Psygnosis would later release many of the original Lemmings games, as well as the first Darkstalkers game, Darkstalkers the Night Warriors. Though the Psygnosis logo features an owl, the choice for the main character in Agony being the same was not intentionally meant to resemble it. Franck's reasoning behind it being that owls are very cool, and Roger Dean's reason, the creator of Psygnosis' owl logo, they wanted something that said knowledge, the future, wisdom, fun, so the owl has to be the obvious choice. It's not the only choice, but it's the obvious choice. Before the arrival at an owl for the main character in Agony, while the game was still planned to be a sequel to Unreal, the main character sprite was going to be a spaceship that resembled a futuristic version of the dragon found in Unreal. Then the choice to make it an owl led to the want to join forces with Psygnosis. Once the agreement was made between Art & Magic and Psygnosis, the prototype had to become a completed game. Using the de facto painting tool equipped by Amiga, Deluxe Paint, specifically Deluxe Paint 3, the team got to work. Franck shared how exactly he detailed initial level layouts. Then beyond the concepts, the creation consisted of a background layer, a middle layer, a front layer, and then sprites for which there were multiple layers. One of the standout portions of Agony were its level loading screens. While Agony is not a very complex game, just buttons to move around and one to shoot, images like these are artistically absolutely stunning. In that aspect, the game stood out. Speaking of the game itself now and what makes up Agony, I found the story to be another standout portion, making the simplicity of this shoot-'em-up feel more meaningful to complete. That story being the Grand Master Sun Wizard Acanthropsis discovering a great power called Cosmic Power. The discovery of this cosmic power was enough to bring upon his death, but before that would come to pass, he had to pass on the knowledge of cosmic power to his two apprentices, Alestes and Mentor. Unable to choose between the two, Acanthropsis devised a test. You play as Alestes, as he is taken on the form of an owl, and must fight through countless waves of enemies brought on by Mentor. If you can surpass his trial, and reach the mystical place that holds the secret of cosmic power, then you will be the victor and learn of this great power. Whether you find that story to be compelling or not, for me, I'm a sucker for that 80s sword and sorcery fantasy style, and this absolutely fits the bill. Now here are where things get confusing. So here in the manual, it shows what you'll see in-game on the screen and what they mean. Remaining spell time, score, and lives remaining. The score and lives remaining are easy to understand, but the remaining spell time, let's look deeper into that. This spell time, alluding to its own section here of different available spells, reverse energy, rotating fireball, etc. 8 different spell abilities in total. Here's the thing though. Even though it tells how to access these different spells in the menu, it doesn't work. Or at least I couldn't. And the spell time number never left 0. And as far as I could tell, nobody else who had videos on this game had any other spell than I had, which I guess could be the forward spell power, if it is even a spell or not just the basic attack separate of all these spells. But that was it. I see it referred to as an echolocation attack. It is a wave that shoots out in front of Alestes, and the longer between getting hit and losing a life, the bigger the wave becomes. I don't mind this simple attack, but I really like the idea of changing spells for different enemies. With how the game played, this would be an absolute nightmare though. There were so many enemies thrown at you at once, and so many factors to avoid. Having attacks come from behind as well as having to switch between attacks would have made this insanely difficult task nigh impossible. Perhaps that was a planned mechanic, and later was reverted, or that never came to fruition, and was already submitted for the game manual and was left in. That's all I can surmise from this. Nevertheless, I think it's time to dive into the gameplay itself. Upon running the game, on top of a title loading screen are credits. Then Alestes metamorphoses into an owl. The time to fight has come. Then another loading screen for the first level. There is a different art piece for each. Then we find Alestes, as mentioned, as an owl, flying over a raging sea in the rain. Only thing to do, press fire to start. And we're off. The screen moves slowly, picking up speed until it's at cruising speed. No enemies yet. Oh shit! I did not expect this school of barracudas or whatever these are to jump up from below. These are the first enemies, for crying out loud. Oh well, one life's used up already. 2 more to go. Okay, what the actual fuck is that? I can't pause, I want to pause. You can't do this to me. Muscle sharks in the sky. Is that what I'm seeing? I feel like I'm going insane, and the game has just started. It can't get weirder than that, right? At this point, these chomping, shooting thorn stalks seem normal. Don't worry, that question was rhetorical. It does get weirder. But beyond these first enemies and having to restart already, the enemies appear to spawn at the same time, in the same place, each time. The only difference being that some occasionally shoot out indestructible little yellow orbs. Everything else can be damaged and destroyed, at different rates, by my echo wave attacks. And every now and then I'll be able to find items which don't do anything that I can tell, except the swords which hover above then below me to protect my flanks from enemies. Then the first boss, a, wave? A stationary wave that's shaped like a dolphin, kind of. I can picture the eye there. Whatever. And it shoots big orbs. And I can only damage it when I shoot at the head. Whatever. Okay, level 1 done. Now if you wish to play it yourself and want to avoid spoilers, now would be the time to do that, then come back. Or skip here using the timestamp below. But I assure you, it's just more of the same, but harder, and of course, weirder. So we fly on to level 2. Dear God, what is that? A pterodactyl with the body of a Greek god. How did these designs even come to mind? Is that one of the things I have to actually fight? Is that it? No, probably not that. Oh, what? Oh, why so fast? And they just about blend into the background. I hate it. Okay, that pterodactyl thing's probably that. You can't see its abs from this angle, though. I'm sorry, wasp cavalry? Is that where Elden Ring got their idea? Or is this more of a Thumbelina type situation? I'm sorry. The boss is a big one. And he shoots infinite boomerangs. Well, good day, mate. Kindly fuck off. Alright. Good God, now we're in the swamps. You're not gonna throw a mutant alligator thing at me, are you? What's that? Is that the love child of Godzilla and the Swamp Thing? And a giant belching potato. The whole gang's here. Oh, they wrote me a letter. Huh. So the boss of this one is well, pretty easy. Just avoid the tongue. But let's see what this amalgamation could be pulling parts from. So a chameleon tongue, right? It looks kind of like a praying mantis, but bipedal. Maybe it's an ant's body? That abdomen is tiny, though. Maybe a dragonfly? And one set of wings, like a fly, and, well, there you have it. An abomination. Next, we move on to the Firelands, which, of course, have cascading jelly beans, ghosts, armadillo crab roaches, and satanic hippocamp statues that shoot fire from their fingertips. I feel like every other sentence of mine at this point is one never uttered before in human existence. I have absolutely no idea what the boss could be here. Well, I mean, I do now, but you don't, probably. So let's take a guess. Is it A giant satanic hippocamp statue that shoots fire from its fingertips? B, a fire-breathing dragon head on a Greek god body with insect legs? C, a half-rock golem, half-pillar with a retractable flail? Or D, a flying severed head of a scalped man with his brain exposed and balls for a chin? It's C. Did you want it to be D? Sorry to disappoint, but have no fear. Those are in the next level. This is more of a fire level than the last, a lava level actually. A lot of the enemies look familiar here, besides Big Ball Chin. Maybe a slight change here or there, or just a color change. They must have used all of their creative juices for the first few levels, then just repurposed them for the latter ones. Then we face him, the final boss, Mentor. My god, was this ever an arcade release? Because I would have lost all my quarters on this thing. He is insanely difficult, and the only way back to him is to replay the whole game again. Seriously, he tracks my movement. I don't think there's any way to beat him. No natural way anyways. So when in doubt, cheese it. And that's Agony. What a journey. I need to know what other people thought at the time. It varies quite a bit actually, which, just about everything will. But here are the best rated reviews at the time that I could find, being a 93 out of 100. For me, it would equate to 9.25 out of 10. And the lowest a 60, or a 6 out of 10. The 93 being from the French video game magazine, Generation 4. I wasn't able to find the exact worded review, so let's look at the next step down. A 9 out of 10 from Amiga Magazine. Okay, is that in German? Translated, it seems a bit misguided. They keep calling Alestes, who you play as the Cynosis Owl. I can't find anything relatable to me here. Let's try another. An 87 out of 100, or 8.75 for me, from a review in 030 Magazine. Dear Claire, I've got a bit of a pressing problem. I'm a little cheesed off with acanthropsis's my former employer Will. I'm sorry. I don't think I've ever seen a review written from the perspective of the main character of the game, formatted as a pen pal letter to the real-life review writer. Wow! Okay, hard to move past that, but we must. The worst review being, as previously mentioned, a 6 out of 10, which still isn't that bad, but the wording in the review sure makes it seem like it. But I've got to admit, they make some good points, and I agree with most. Though I think they were a bit harsh in their thrashing. But wait, £26? It cost £26 in 1991? That's gotta be a lot considering inflation. Wait, maybe pounds don't inflate as much as the US dollar. Oh god, £71? That's gotta be like $90. Yeah, $87. What a ripoff! For that price, this game sucks! Nah, sorry. We'll ignore that part. Well, what I actually thought, though, was that overall, I liked it. And for that, I'm giving Agony a 6.25 out of 10. Not bad, not my favorite. There were aspects I didn't particularly care for, but the music, the story, and most importantly the graphics were terrific. That is, however, a considerable step down from my speculated rating of 8.5. Having seen the cover art and a few images at the time, I'd say the graphics were perhaps the best part of the game. And well, to some of you, 6.25 seems like a low grade given those praises for it. For those who don't know, I grade things a little differently around here. I try to be more spread out in a sense and not have everything clumped into an 8 or 9 out of 10 for every game I like. I see that a lot from different review sites and other reviewers, and it's unrealistic to say everything is near perfect. Now, I'm a bit obsessed with data collecting and list making, even going as far as to implement subcolumns for those lists as if I were making them for all to see. Some of them I have shared, like the one here for my retro rewinds, but others, like whenever I see a movie for the first time, not so much. But whenever I rate a movie as being good, that's a 7 out of 10. 7 is the threshold that spaces things out, leaving the truly exceptional ones to stand out as rarities closer to 10. And I wouldn't say a movie is bad unless it's below 5 out of 10. Basically, the same holds true for video games. Specifically these games for retro rewinds, though I use a different system. But I've marked Shadow of the Comet as being the benchmark for an average game, sitting at 5 out of 10. So anything I rate above a 5 out of 10, I think that's a better than average game. Maybe not in every category, those I'm showing on screen. These categories I think to be integral parts of a video game that can make or break one. But overall, if those reach over a 5, then it's an above average game. The higher the better, of course, stepping by quarter grades, and 9.5 being the highest because I don't believe there is such thing as a perfect game. At least I haven't seen one yet. and if games have the same grade, such as the case with Agony, the placement then relies on my personal enjoyment rating for the game. The other categories I grade from, I try to be critical and non-biased in, but there will always be a little. It's my opinion after all. But anyways, that was just a little look into my rating method. A bit of a rant, but I wanted to get it out there. If ever someone brings it up, I'll send them here, because I know y'all won't want this explanation over and over. One more fun thing to mention, in 2010, Frank released the game's binary files on his website, making Agony freeware. For that reason, I'd say go check it out. And even more recently, Eve released his development files, which include source code. If nothing else, seeing how at least a few guys made games back in the day. Okay, now that that's done, let's take a look at the showcase. Placing Agony at 6.25 puts it just below Conker's Bad Fur Day and just above Lego Loco, making it my 16th favorite game overall that I've played for this channel. I've made 27 retro rewinds so far, 22nd, Shadow of the Comet, and up, I'd say we're from okay to good to great. Below those bottom 5 are meh or downright abysmal. I'm looking at you, Theme Park Mystery. But as far as games released in the same year, Agony is my third favorite. Compared with the same platform, the Commodore Amiga, it's second. And for the same genre, which I've been trying to mess around with and how many genres I want to break these games up into, as of right now, Agony is 6th in the action games category. Going further into the year, I'd like to compare the games solely from the year I play them. So in that respect though, as of right now, it's number 1, baby. And then as you can see, the most played from each of those respective categories. And that's it. That was a lot there at the end. Did you stick around? Are you seeing this? Comment below if you did and what you do or don't agree with. And if you have any game recommendations, leave them in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll enjoy what I have in store. That's all for now. See you next time.